Greetings, YouTube. Today we're going to discuss useless spells. Now, these were written humorously, and there's two different lists I've got here, one of which was compiled from the FRP AD&D group on Usenet, which means I may have contributed to this. I'm not positive for all I know, and this was compiled in 2003, so it's 14 years old. And then another list, which is 101 useless spells, which has actually got like almost 400 spells in it. And I'm not going to read the entire list. We're just going to skim this and see what we can come up with, some silly things that might still be inspirational, if not purely entertaining. So we're going to start with the first one on the D&D compiled list, animate bread, which could be humorous, obviously some kind of a cantrip. Anoint commoner. I suppose that would be a useful way of just fooling someone into thinking of being anointed, something that a mountebank would do. Again, a kind of a cantrip here. Banish thumbs. That could actually be dangerous. If you banish someone's thumbs, they're going to have a much more difficult time in life. That one's a more powerful and particularly possibly debilitating spell. Charm self, because there is no one more easy to lie to than yourself. Crass suggestion. I like that one. Detect pants. Useful in case you misplaced your pants. Because, as the saying goes, always know where your pants are. Enlarge mess. I'm an expert with that. I have that one as an at-will power. Feign life. There are times I've done that as well. Hold self. Self-care is important. Magic minstrel. Now that one could be interesting. An illusionary minstrel that plays a tune, and perchance based on level, the complexity, or the skill of the. So it could be directly, say, the person's skill is a 5 at the lowest level, and as you increase with your expertise, or there are higher level versions, the skill of the minstrel increases. So the quality of the music from the lower level, which is essentially elevator music, to things at the higher level, which are masterwork, things that you definitely want to listen to. That one would be interesting. Polymorph mother. It's Mother's Day. How appropriate. Power word wedgie. Power word pun. I am an expert with that as well. Protection from Elvis 10-foot radius. You see Elvis in this room? Speak with self. There are times when the only person available to discuss a wise conversation with is oneself. Toss dwarf. Not really popular with dwarves, but could be situationally useful, particularly if you need to get a dwarf from where you are to somewhere else. We have walk. Very useful, particularly if you are drunk. And then we actually have apparently there's the actual log of some of the discussion. Holy crud. A little blurb into the past here, folks. I didn't notice this list about people are just talking about their own particular versions of spells, and they actually have gone to the time to create the spells themselves. Excellent. This is a very valuable resource, and it is available as a PDF. So it's not only entertaining, but could be useful, and it's quite entertaining. Some of this stuff is, wow, some of this phantasmal fart. That's funny. Okay, now the other list. First one is acid trip. A form of a poisonous attack, obviously. Anger god. Well, I've probably done that in my day. The animate bread spell, so there is some overlap here. Augment chord 1, 2, lowercase, 3, 4, lowercase, 5, 6, and 7, lowercase. That's funny. Major and minor chords. Um, Bad lighting. That could be interesting because you could use it as an illusionary thing to put a skill penalty on someone giving a speech or a public performance, something like that. Bookworm blast. Bookworm blast. What would that do? Now, it could create actual bookworms, which are dangerous to books. So that could be a specific attack upon a material object. Change elf. Again, situationally useful if you have an elf that you wish to change them. It doesn't specify how, so maybe you can only change their appearance. But maybe it's they make us have to make a saving throw to avoid being changed. Cone of bubbles, obviously a cantrip, very useful, entertaining. Contact this plane. Now you're laughing about this. But what if that gives you information about your immediate area, or an area that you're thinking of on your plane of existence? So, silly at first, but what if it's still useful? Cure smoked ham. That's perfect. Cure animal hide. Now you're thinking that's silly. No, it's not. If you have an animal hide and you want to instantaneously preserve it for later use, so it doesn't rot on you, doesn't smell, you've possibly tanned it properly, that could be a very useful thing. And you could have another cure at higher levels. It cures magical beasts, so you're preserving the dragon hide. So that right there, a silly concept at first, very, very useful. Symbol, a cantrip that just makes a noise. I think there's noise-making cantrips already, but I'm not positive. Delayed blast flatulence. Now that is still a useful spell if you would like to embarrass someone in public. So that's the kind of thing that you need to have some kind of magical defense against, because otherwise people could be throwing these kind of low-level spells at you while you're trying to speak publicly. And I'm sure any politician, any member of the nobility or royalty would have to have some kind of protection like this. Detect hound, useful if you want to find the nearest hound, I guess. Detect weevil. That would be difficult to do. I hope it's got a really long range, because frankly, I don't know if there are going to be many weevils around me. Though, maybe there are. Maybe there are weevils everywhere, and we're just not aware of them. Draw Mig's instant cake mix. Still useful, particularly if you want to have an instant cake. Avard's black testicles. That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good. Explosive friends. Your friends might not like that. Let's see. Face grasp. You're just so cute. Forget spell area self. Forget spells. Could that be useful? If there be a time when you don't want to think about your spells, you want to what if it's forget spells if you want to reset your spell selection? You've gotten your spell selection for the day already. You've picked incorrectly, so you keep this around in a wand. It erases a specific level of spells you have in your head, so you can relearn them. Geese. It summons geese. So in Pathfinder, that it's an animal of nature ally of geese. Guess alignment. Maybe it gives you a bonus to your try to judge somebody's motives. Hold mustard. Takes mustard off of food. But if you don't like mustard, you cast that cantrip and you know there's no mustard in your food. Excellent. Impress plants. Maybe that's something the druids like to do. Invisible talker. That may be useful. What if it's kind of a magic mouth spell? So it not appears, but it sounds like someone is talking near you, and the source of sound is coming from a point where their mouth would be, but they're invisible. A form of communication. maybe the foundations of magical telecommunication. Kooshball creates a minor spell of one of for kids. Leomund's Grass Hut, obviously a cantrip, one of those things you teach spellcasters when they are very young. Leomund's Sturdy Music Box creates a music box. Again, useful if you want to enter for entertainment. Lose Familiar. Get lost. Yay, we booger. Lose Familiar. Don't know if that's going to be a lower cholesterol level. That could be useful because in case you are someone is not feeling well, or say they've got the gout. Melf's Minute Rice, instant food. Meteor Swan, a fantastical version of a swan. It's been like a celestial animal or a demonic octopus, something like that. Mordenkainen's Unfaithful Wife. Okay. Murdoch's Feathery Pillow. Again, summons an object of usefulness, particularly if you are in an area where you're not prepared for sleep. Otto's Resistible Dance. Obviously, the kind of spell that was an at-will power of Drax's wife. That's a very obscure reference unless you're Guardians of the Family, Guardians of the Galaxy fan. Protection from normal air. That could help. That could mean an asphyxiation attack of some variety. Putrefy Offal. Well, just helps to reduce offal to something even more easily used as fertilizer, maybe? Resurrect the Living. Hangover cure? Rice Storm. A low-level spell that just creates a visual or minor annoyance to spellcasting or performance or something like that. Rock Summoning 1. It summons a rock. What does the rock do? Swift Envelope. Okay, again, communication. You cast this on an existing envelope, and the envelope whisks off to some other place. Not necessarily the silliest thing in the universe. Time Start. Maybe it's a stopwatch kind of a spell. Undefined Symbol. Could be useful as a confusion ability. Maybe it's a fascination form of magic. Unseen Sympathy. It soothes you because you feel that someone is being sympathetic towards you, and maybe it gives you a bonus to resist some kind of mental control. Visible Stalker. Maybe it turns a stalker that is in the shadows more visible, reduces a penalty to their sneak. Wall of Velcro. Well, there you go. Entertainment for a whole family. There's a wall of paper. Now, if that is an instantaneous spell, that could be useful because you're creating paper. And paper isn't necessarily the easiest thing to come by. So maybe that is a way of making a lot of paper all at once. Could be useful. Wizard Stain. It stains your wizards? Who knows? Wink. Forces someone to wink. Again, that under the right circumstances, that could be very disturbing, and it could spoil someone's speech check in public. So these are just some ideas I'm whipping off here. I've talked for over 14 minutes. Go read the list if you want, and let's come up with some of our own silly ass spells, just for entertainment purposes. But remember, even if seen in jest, it doesn't necessarily mean that these things cannot be the nexus of an idea that could be useful in a campaign. Ideas can come from just about anywhere. Sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're useful, and occasionally they're both.